There is a cooling device you can build in approximately 20 minutes using materials that cost less than $12 total, most of which you already have in your home right now. It operates on principles of evaporative cooling that have been understood and applied for thousands of years across desert civilizations, where mechanical refrigeration never existed. When ambient humidity is low, typically below 50%, this device can drop air temperature by 15 to 25 degrees Fahrenheit while consuming only the electricity needed to run a small fan, approximately 30 to 50 watts compared to the 3,000 to 5,000 watts consumed by central air conditioning systems. A household running this device instead of air conditioning during suitable conditions saves between $4 and $9 daily in electricity costs depending on regional rates and typical AC runtime. Over a summer cooling season of 120 days, that translates to $480 to $1,080 in avoided costs from a device built with cardboard, a box fan, a frozen water bottle, and basic assembly that requires no tools beyond scissors and duct tape. This is not theoretical, this is physics. And the reason this information gets suppressed, removed from platforms, and dismissed as impractical by HVAC industry representatives is because a population cooling homes with $12 DIY evaporative coolers cannot justify purchasing $4,000 air conditioning systems, cannot generate recurring service revenue, and cannot be locked into perpetual equipment replacement cycles that define the $70 billion residential cooling industry. Right now, the average American household spends approximately $430 annually on air conditioning, according to data compiled by the Energy Information Administration tracking residential energy consumption patterns. In southern states, including Arizona, Texas, Florida, and parts of California, annual cooling costs frequently exceed $800 due to extended seasons and extreme temperatures. A significant portion of that expense occurs during afternoon peak demand hours when utilities charge premium rates because grid capacity must expand to handle millions of air conditioners running simultaneously. A typical central AC unit draws 4,000 watts. A window unit draws 1,000 to 1,500 watts. The DIY evaporative cooler described here draws 40 watts, a reduction of 95 to 99% in electricity consumption while providing equivalent or superior comfort in appropriate humidity conditions. Let us go back to the physics that makes this work and why it has been used successfully across multiple continents for millennia before being displaced by mechanical refrigeration. Water requires enormous energy to change from liquid to vapor. This energy, called latent heat of vaporization, is approximately 540 calories per gram of water. When water evaporates, it absorbs that energy from surrounding surfaces and air, lowering their temperature. This is why sweating cools your body. As perspiration evaporates from skin, it removes heat, dropping skin temperature. The same principle applies to air cooling. When air passes over water surfaces and evaporation occurs, the air temperature drops while humidity increases. In dry climates where humidity starts low, air can absorb significant moisture before reaching saturation. This allows substantial temperature reduction through evaporation. Ancient Persians built wind towers that channeled air over underground water channels before directing it into buildings, cooling incoming air by 20 to 30 degrees through evaporative effect, combined with the coolness of underground spaces. Egyptians hung wet reeds in doorways and windows, cooling air as it passed through evaporating moisture. Native Americans in the Southwest used similar techniques with wet fabrics. These methods worked continuously for thousands of years without electricity, without refrigerants, and without mechanical compressors. Modern evaporative coolers, sold commercially as swamp coolers, operate on identical principles, but cost $300 to $1,200 and require installation, maintenance, and eventual replacement. The DIY version costs $12, assembles in 20 minutes, and performs identically for single-room cooling. Here is exactly what you need and how to build it. Acquire one cardboard box approximately 18 inches square. This can be a shipping box, appliance box, or any sturdy cardboard container. You need one standard 20-inch box fan, available at any hardware or department store for $15 to $25 if you do not already own one. You need a roll of duct tape, costing $3 to $5. You need several frozen water bottles or ice packs. If you do not have reusable bottles, use empty plastic soda bottles filled with water and frozen overnight. You need scissors or a utility knife. Total material cost, assuming you purchase the fan, is under $30. If you already own a box fan, cost drops to essentially zero because cardboard boxes are free and duct tape is a household staple. Begin by cutting holes in the cardboard box. Cut one large opening on one side measuring approximately 16 by 16 inches to fit the box fan. Cut 4 to 6 smaller holes on the opposite side, each approximately 3 inches in diameter, to serve as air outlets. These holes allow cooled air to exit the box in directed streams. Position the box fan in the large opening so it blows air into the box interior. Secure the fan to the cardboard using duct tape around the entire perimeter, creating an airtight seal. Place your frozen water bottles or ice packs inside the box directly in front of the fan. Air blown by the fan passes over the frozen bottles, cooling dramatically through contact with the cold surface. Additionally, condensation forms on the bottles as warm, humid air contacts the cold surface. This condensation evaporates back into the airstream, further cooling the air through evaporative effect. The cooled air exits through the smaller holes you cut on the opposite side. Turn on the fan at low to medium speed. Within minutes, cold air begins flowing from the outlet holes. Position the device so outlets point toward your seating or sleeping area. The temperature of air exiting the box will measure 15 to 25 degrees cooler than ambient room temperature depending on how frozen your bottles are and how dry the incoming air is. As the ice melts over several hours, cooling effect gradually diminishes. Simply replace melted bottles with fresh frozen ones. If you keep 6 bottles rotating, 3 in the freezer and 3 in the cooler, you maintain continuous cooling indefinitely. The device works best in dry climates. Humidity below 50% allows maximum evaporative cooling. Regions including the entire Southwest, mountain states, high plains, and parts of California experience extended periods with ideal conditions. In these areas, the DIY cooler performs excellently from May through September. In humid climates like the Southeast and Gulf Coast, effectiveness decreases because air already saturated with moisture cannot absorb additional evaporation. However, even in humid conditions, contact cooling from frozen bottles still provides 10 to 15 degree temperature reduction, making the device useful though less dramatic than in arid zones. A household in Nevada built this device to cool a bedroom during summer. Outside temperatures reached 105 degrees regularly. The bedroom without cooling would climb to 95 degrees by afternoon. Running a window air conditioner kept the room at 75 degrees but cost approximately $6 daily in electricity. They built the cardboard box cooler for $8 in materials, using a fan they already owned. The device brought bedroom temperature down to 78 degrees, slightly warmer than the AC, but perfectly comfortable for sleeping. Electricity cost dropped to 12 cents daily for running the fan. Daily savings of $5.88. Over a 90-day summer, $529 saved compared to running the window unit. Over 5 summers, $2,645 saved from an $8 initial investment. Scale the concept for whole house cooling by building multiple units. 3 devices strategically placed in main living areas provide distributed cooling covering 1,200 to 1,500 square feet, effectively in dry climates. Total material cost for 3 units is under $50 if you already own fans. Electricity consumption is 120 watts total, compared to 4,000 watts for central air. Even running 12 hours daily, monthly electricity cost is $5 compared to $120 to $180 for central AC in hot climates. Monthly savings of $115 to $175. Over a 4-month cooling season, $460 to $700 saved. Over 10 years, $4,600 to $70,000 kept instead of sent to the utility. Combine the cooler with passive strategies for maximum effect. Close all windows and curtains during the day to block solar heat gain. Open windows at night when outdoor temperatures drop, using box fans to flush accumulated heat with cool night air. Close everything at sunrise, trapping cool air inside. Run your DIY evaporative cooler during afternoon peak heat. This integrated approach maintains comfort without air conditioning in climates where nighttime temperatures drop at least 15 degrees below daytime highs. The knowledge has not disappeared. Evaporative cooling remains widely used in commercial and industrial settings. Data centers use evaporative cooling towers. Agricultural operations cool greenhouses and livestock facilities with misting systems and evaporative pads. But residential applications have been marginalized through marketing that positions mechanical refrigeration as the only legitimate cooling method. You were taught that comfort requires expensive equipment and high energy consumption. Your grandfather cooled his home with fans, open windows, and wet towels hung in doorways. For generations, this was standard practice. Then HVAC manufacturers convinced the public that only compressor-based systems provide acceptable comfort. But physics never changed. Evaporation still removes heat exactly as effectively as it did in ancient Persia. Frozen water still cools air passing over it exactly as reliably as any mechanical system. The science remains valid and accessible to anyone willing to remember methods that worked for millennia before being displaced by technologies that generate recurring revenue. If this just revealed how to cool a room for $12 instead of $4,000, share it with someone paying $200 monthly for air conditioning in a climate where humidity allows evaporative cooling. Every person who builds this device is one less customer purchasing expensive equipment designed to require replacement every 10 to 15 years. Every home cooled with ice bottles and cardboard is a permanent break from dependency on systems that cost thousands up front and hundreds annually to operate.